Today we hear a question from Peter, but it might as well be from any of us. The question has to do with forgiveness. More specifically, the question has to do with whether there is a limit to the forgiveness that we must extend to those who sin against us. Peter's question and Jesus' response are found in Matthew 18, verses 21 through 35. This is what we read. Then Peter came to Jesus and asked, "Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times?" Jesus answered, "I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. Therefore the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. As he began the settlement, a man who owed him 10,000 bags of gold was brought to him. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered that he and his wife and his children and all they had be sold to repay the debt. At this the servant fell on his knees before him. 'Be patient with me,' he begged, 'and I will pay back everything.' The servant's master took pity on him, canceled the debt, and let him go. But when that servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 silver coins. He grabbed him and began to choke him. 'Pay back what you owe me,' he demanded. His fellow servant fell to his knees and begged him, 'Be patient with me, and I will pay you back.' But he refused. Instead, he went off and had the man thrown into prison until he could pay the debt. When the other servants saw what had happened, they were outraged, and they went and told their master everything that had happened. Then the master called the servant in. 'You wicked servant,' he said, 'I canceled all that debt of yours because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant just as I had on you?' In anger, the master handed him over to the jailers to be tortured until he should pay back all that he owed. This is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother or sister from your heart." This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks, Mark. The last couple of weeks, we've been focusing our attention on the new possibilities for life that are present in and through Jesus. He makes a way for us to leave the old status quo and the old settled arrangements, and he ushers into a newness of life. We looked a couple of weeks ago just briefly at this beautiful passage from Isaiah. I thought the words were going to be bigger on the back screen, but talking about life bursting forth in the wilderness. Where there's only barrenness, suddenly there's a beautiful garden, there's plenty of water. This is the reality that is made possible through Jesus Christ. So of course we say, yes, we want this. Of course we're going to follow. And yet Peter's question this morning reminds us that there's a hesitancy to fully embracing this way of life that Jesus brings to us. It's demanding, and we wonder if we might be able to set some limits around what Jesus requires of us. We're talking about forgiveness, and we all know that forgiveness is terribly difficult work. Somebody wrongs you. They might steal from you. They might injure you. They might break trust. They might abuse you. They might kill a member of your family. They might abandon you. And instead of holding that person in your debt, instead of demanding that they repay you in some way, you forgive them. You name what's happened, but you release them from the burden of the debt that they might rightfully owe you. But you say, I'm not going to keep you there. I'm going to release you. I'm going to act in such a way that makes myself available to a renewed relationship with you. And we say, Jesus, mustn't there be a limit then to the extent of forgiveness that we are required to extend to another person? This is where Peter's question is coming from. Let's give him credit. He recognizes that forgiveness is one of the central social policies in this kingdom that is coming through Jesus Christ. It is enduring policy. It will not be upended. It will not be negotiated away. It is here to stay. It's been enacted by executive order. It will not be removed by any amount of maneuvering or politicking. It is here to stay. Peter gets this, and he even makes a rather generous offer. Lord, should I forgive one that sins against me up to 7 times? This is a generous offer by Peter, and yet he's kind of hedging a bit. Up to 7, and at that point, can we draw a limit? We wonder if there is a limit. Does Jesus actually require us to forgive over and over and over and over again, even when the offender doesn't repent? Even when the offender doesn't say, I'm sorry. Even if the offender were to continue in the offense over and over and over again. Jesus, isn't there a limit at some point? I'm going to share a story because I'm going to come back to it at the end, and it just simply underscores the difficulty that we have with this. We don't need the story, but it helps us identify something that we might feel within ourselves. It's told by Miroslav Volf, who's written extensively on this topic. We'll hear more from him this evening. When he was a year old, his older brother was 5, and he wandered away from home. His aunt was watching him, but not closely enough, and he wanders out of the home and into the town square. And there's these soldiers in the town square, and they loved it when this little boy would come out because he's so energetic and full of life. And their days were boring, so it was great when this little kid came out and they could interact with him and play with him. And this one particular day, they were going to give him a ride on a wagon drawn by a horse. They're going to take him through town. So they put him on the wagon and they start going. And at one point, the little boy Daniel leans over the side of the wagon and he gets his head caught between the wagon and the gate, and the horse keeps going. And little Daniel dies on the way to the hospital. Now, there's people to blame in this. It was an accident, but there's people to blame. The aunt wasn't watching the boy as closely as she should have. The soldier shouldn't have probably taken him on the ride to begin with, and certainly wasn't taking enough precaution. So there's people to blame in this situation. People are at fault. And yet, Wolf's parents choose to forgive both the soldier, most responsible for this, and the aunt. They decide they will not press charges against the soldier, and they will not force the aunt to live under a burden of debt that would simply, a burden of guilt that would simply crush her. They forgive. They release the debt. They choose to move forward in a different way. And we can feel the burden of that in ourselves, and we don't need a story like that to know that this is difficult work. We've listed a number of examples already when we might be called into the obedience of forgiveness ourselves, and we know that it's tiring work, it's exhausting work, and we wonder, might there simply be a limit around it? This is where Peter's question comes from. Lord, up to 7 times? Is this the amount? Is this the proper limit? We want to ask the question because we wonder if we don't ask it, if there's no limit, are we simply exposing ourselves to a degree of vulnerability that really isn't comfortable or safe for anybody? What if this person knows better? What if this person ought to know better as a member of the church community? What if this person doesn't show any signs of remorse? Am I simply supposed to release them from their debt? Intuitively, we think, yes, there must be a limit. If the offense is committed over and over again, if the offender is not repentant, if the offense is so significant that we simply can't let it go. Maybe we're willing to forgive a minor offense, maybe even a maturing offense on the way to adulthood, but at some point we think there must be a limit. Some offense is so egregious that we simply cannot forgive it. The offender is not deserving. It seems so intuitive to us, so right, so rational, that we think Jesus must obviously side with us in this. So Jesus, how many times should I forgive a brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times. That's right, isn't it? Right, Jesus? 7? And Jesus says, no, that's wrong. So he tells a parable. And he tells a parable that we might almost find, this is rather impolite of Jesus. The way that he is telling this and what he's telling us, but he's trying to draw us into this reality of a kingdom that operates by principles unlike any other kingdom. So the parable is memorable enough. We don't need to hardly recount it, but we will very briefly. There's a king who's an accountant on the side, it seems like, because he knows who owes him what, and he's going to call his debtors to account, and it's time to pay up. And there's one of his servants that's a rather poor money manager and has accrued such a debt that there's hardly a number for it. Think of the biggest number you can. That's the number in our house. It used to be 100 Google Plus. That was the biggest number that existed. This person has a debt of 100 Google Plus. It's so big it's not even funny, and there's simply no way of being able to repay it. So the king is going to do what's a king supposed to do, right? So it sounds terrible, but he's going to sell him and his wife and his children, everything he has, and that's going to be payment for this debt. Well, if you're in that position, if you're that servant, you're going to beg pathetically for mercy, which this servant does, and the king takes pity on the servant, and he releases the servant from his debt. It's canceled, you may go free. Now, if the story ended there, we would be very, very happy, and we would think that the next logical thing that happened is the servant went out and he jumped for joy and he hugged his wife and he wrote a gushing thank you note to the king, and he offered to do anything for the king, and then he might go out even and throw a very thrifty feast for his friends to celebrate this newfound freedom. I am no longer in debt. Thanks be to the king and to God. But that's not how the story ends. And we say, aw shucks, because we know that Jesus is in the process of trying to teach something about us. So this is what happens. That servant that's recently been released from the debt, he goes out and he finds somebody that owes him a very comparatively tiny debt. We're not exactly sure what happened. Maybe this guy's mule died and he needed a quick loan to get a new mule, and as maybe a 4-month expense. So he borrows this money from the servant who's in a lot of debt. We're not sure where he got the money, but he feels free to lend this money he doesn't have. And anyway, now the servant that's been released of the debt finds a servant that owes him comparatively tiny amount of money, and he begins to choke him. And he says, you've had long enough, it's time to pay up. And as a sign that we are truly in line with the kingdom of God and the principles upon which it operates, we are fully aghast at the actions of this servant. He's been forgiven much, and he is unwilling to forgive even a tiny debt. And we think, what a jerk. So the king calls him back in, and he throws him into prison, and he says, your debt has been reinstated to you. And we think, serves you right. And then we find that Jesus kind of has us right where he wants us to be. Because part of the difficulty is that it can be very difficult for us to properly view ourselves. Now, sometimes we don't hold a high enough view of ourselves. We fail to recognize the inestimable esteem we have, the honor we have as people that have been created in the image of God and have been redeemed by God through Jesus Christ. Sometimes we don't view ourselves highly enough, and we need to learn to hold our heads up just a little bit higher. But sometimes when we ask the question that Peter asks, we demonstrate that we have difficulty viewing ourselves in a different way. And it's the fact that we struggle to properly account for ourselves in terms of the debt we have accrued in which we might owe God. How do we come to embody a sense of humility, recognizing that we owe God far more than we could ever begin to imagine, and yet we've received great mercy? This is almost offensive for us. We really don't like to think about this, because while sometimes we might fully struggle to view ourselves highly enough, we do like to think well of ourselves, and we will put our best foot forward when we put together our resumes or when we go on social media, even when we talk with fellow church members before and after the service. We like to put our best foot forward. We like to think highly of ourselves. We will acknowledge that, yeah, we're sinners in need of a Savior, but if it wasn't for all those other really awful sinners, maybe Jesus' suffering wouldn't have had to be quite so bad. It's easy to think like that. But Jesus obliterates this way of thinking. And he tells us this parable where he would have us readily identify with this servant who owes such an enormous amount of debt. And we don't like to think that way about ourselves, but it's so easy to go down this other line of thinking, Peter's line of thinking, where we need Jesus to almost shockingly, exaggeratingly call us back to this proper perspective. Peter's trouble, and really the disciples' trouble, started not just with this question, but at the very beginning of this chapter where they come to Jesus with a different question. Lord, who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? That's the question we like to ask. And to ask the question assumes that, well, I must be a candidate for the title, right? I'm deserving. I've got some credentials. Maybe I'm the greatest in the kingdom. And the problem with this type of thinking, though, is that if we view ourselves as the greatest, then at some point we're going to come to the point of saying, well, I don't deserve to be wronged. And if I don't deserve to be wronged, then there's going to come to a point where we say, well, I'm actually well within my rights to keep somebody in my debt. I'm a candidate for the greatest. You wronged me, you don't deserve to wrong me, I'm going to keep you here. We don't like to acknowledge this. We don't like to own this about ourselves. And yet Jesus brings us right here. And he obliterates that sense that helps us, that makes us want to go down the line of thinking, who's the greatest in the kingdom? He obliterates it. He disrupts it. And he tells us this parable where he helps us recognize that, in fact, we're just like the debtor who owes such an enormous amount of debt that we can't begin to repay it. And yet, the debt has been canceled. It's paid in full. You owe nothing. This is what Matthew is in the process of articulating as he moves Jesus closer and closer to the cross through this narrative. Here's the one who came and suffered and died so that you, although you're like the one servant with an enormous amount of debt, you can walk freely. And it raises an important issue that we should at least name. Sometimes we don't like this picture because we don't like to think of ourselves as needing to be there, that we're really as bad as somebody else who we think obviously belongs there. But maybe sometimes the trouble we have with a parable like this is the fact that we think, well, maybe I can't acknowledge it. Sometimes we don't want to acknowledge it, but maybe sometimes we think we can't acknowledge it. Because what if I say this? What if I acknowledge something about myself? What if I disclose something from my past that I really dislike, but I just go, what are people going to think of me? What might happen to my reputation? What might be the consequences? We talked in Advent about Adam and Eve hiding in the garden, so full of shame. They don't dare to come out until God summons them out, calls them to account. And we find that it's such a gracious summoning because God would not have us live in that hiding with all of the guilt, with all of the shame, with everything that pulls us down and keeps us from truly living. God calls them out. That's the goodness of God. Helping us acknowledge what it is that's in the past, but saying you don't live there. Don't stay there. Come out of it, bring it to light. I don't hold it against you. You are forgiven. Your debt has been canceled. We're going to condemn the fault, but we're going to spare the doer, and you are set free to live. So here's the beauty of what's happening in this passage, what Jesus invites us into. Jesus knows that every other kingdom does not operate on the principle of mercy, which finds expression in forgiveness, but it operates on hostility, on exacting payment, maybe on exacting revenge. Remember Lamech in Genesis 4? Oh, Cain avenged 7 times. I'm going to avenge 77 times. You wonder why Jesus says 77 in this passage, right? Lamech the terrorist, going to go wreak havoc on people's lives. And Jesus says, you forgive, not 7 times, 77. It's a whole new way of being. It's a whole new kingdom. It's a whole new way of engaging with each other in social relationships when wrongs have been done. Jesus knows that every other kingdom on earth operates by principles that would only enslave people, harm people, keep them in debt, dehumanize them to make them pay. And Jesus says, here's another kingdom. It operates by way of mercy. It expresses itself in forgiveness. It releases debts so that people can be free again to live. It's a great act of love. It might well hurt, but we do it for the well-being of the other. So go back to this story from Miroslav Volf's childhood. After this soldier, who is primarily responsible for the accident, is discharged from the army, Volf's father travels 2 hours to visit this gentleman. And he does so because he knows that this young man, if he doesn't know that he's been forgiven, he is going to live under a crushing weight of guilt, and he will simply not be able to live. So he travels 2 hours to visit him. He assures them that he and his wife have truly forgiven him. They do not hold him in their debt. He is free. And then he talks to this young man about the love of God and of what God has done for each of us through Jesus Christ. Was it the easy thing to do? No. But he knew that it was the only thing he could do, because he, like each of us, is just like the servant in the parable with a burdensome weight of debt, but it's been released and it's been forgiven. And so Jesus says, here's the only logical response. You who have received great mercy, you practice forgiveness. I don't think Jesus thought for a second that this was going to be easy for anybody. But I also think that he knew that as we practice this, as difficult as it is, we are pointing to the presence and the reality of another kingdom that does not operate on the principles of exacting payment and exacting revenge, but it operates on the principle of mercy, and that mercy finds expression in the practice of forgiveness. And the only reason we can practice it is because we're already part of this kingdom that recognizes that we have received great mercy. And it's because of that that we say with great relief, thanks be to God. So this evening we're going to revisit this. We're going to think through some of the really thorny issues that come up with this topic, because there are many of them and we don't like them, and it almost feels offensive because we think somebody doesn't deserve what we're giving them, and it's true. But it's an act of love and it's an act of generosity. So we're going to think through how we practice that. And in the meantime, might the Holy Spirit be nurturing in us a profound sense of appreciation for the mercy that we have received, so that increasingly we find that our natural inclination is to forgive as we have been forgiven. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, because of the sacrificial death of Jesus Christ, we pray that you not hold against us, the poor sinners that we are, any sin that we have committed or any evil that has a stubborn way of clinging to us. Don't hold that against us. We ask that you forgive us, just as we are fully determined to forgive those who sin against us. We offer this prayer because we recognize the newness of the kingdom that you have ushered in through Jesus Christ. And as we sang at the beginning of the service, your cause engages our hearts. We so desire to be part of it and to live in light of it. So we pray that where we might find resistance to it because of the challenges of this way of life, the challenge and the demand of forgiveness, where we struggle with that, we pray that you would fill us with, first of all, an appreciation for the mercy that we have already received. And then we pray that you would fill us with the strength and the determination of Jesus Christ, so that our posture in this world demonstrates that we are resolutely committed to forgiving those who sin against us, not because it's the easy thing to do, but because we want to point to the presence of the kingdom that has come in Jesus Christ. So may your kingdom come, and may your will be done here on earth, even as it is in heaven. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. The worship team is going to come forward and lead us in the song of response. We're going to sing of this kingdom. So let's stand and sing, Hear the Call of the Kingdom.